The measure of a man is not in how he reacts when everything is going right, but in how he responds when everything around him is pressing against his will. It is easy to appear composed when the skies are clear, but the man who is truly great, the one who is worthy of admiration, is the man who remains calm in the center of the storm. He is the one who has learned to be unbothered. To be unbothered is not to be uncaring, but to be unshakable. It is not to be numb, but to be disciplined. It is the result of a highly trained mind, a deeply rooted faith, and a vision so fixed that it cannot be knocked off course by the noise of the world. And let me tell you now, the world is noisy. It is loud with opinions. It is filled with distractions. It is saturated with provocations that seek to pull your attention away from your purpose. The question is, do you respond or do you remain? You must learn the art of remaining focused, remaining steady, remaining composed. It does not mean that life will not throw you off balance. It means you have practiced returning to center so many times that even when life shoves you, you come back stronger. The untrained mind is a slave to every emotion. It is at the mercy of every mood, every glance, every comment, but the trained mind is governed by purpose. It has direction. And direction is what anchors a man when the world tries to sweep him away. Most men live by reaction. Great men live by design. And if you wish to rise above the ordinary, if you wish to command peace while the rest of the world drowns in drama, you must discipline your inner world. A man who is unbothered has made a decision. He does not chase validation. He does not argue with ignorance. He does not dance with drama. He observes more than he speaks. He listens more than he replies. He acts only when it is in alignment with his mission. And this is not passive behavior. It is powerful restraint. For what is more powerful than a man who could react but chooses instead to rise? You see, self-mastery begins the moment you choose stillness over struggle. The moment you stop letting circumstances dictate your character. The moment you stop giving others the power to dictate your day. The moment you take full responsibility for your inner climate, no matter what's happening outside of you, because the external world will always be filled with chaos. The economy will shift. People will disappoint. Life will test you. But the man who is grounded, who has rooted himself in principle, in purpose, and in positive mental attitude, can walk through it all untouched, not because he is delusional, but because he is devoted. Devoted to his own peace, devoted to his definite major purpose, devoted to responding with wisdom instead of reacting with ego. Let me make something clear. To stay unbothered, you must train daily. You cannot meditate once and expect eternal peace. You cannot read one book and claim clarity. This is a practice, a repetition, a commitment. You must wake each morning and guard your mind as if your future depends on it, because it does. You begin by identifying the triggers. What throws you off course? Is it criticism? Is it rejection? Is it delays or disrespect or distraction? Identify them. Bring them into the light. Because what you do not confront will continue to control you. You cannot master what you will not face. But the moment you name it, you start to neutralize it. Then you must practice detachment. Not detachment from people, but from their opinions. Not detachment from outcomes, but from emotional dependence on them. You show up, you give your best, and you release what you cannot control. That is the mindset of the mature. That is the posture of peace. You must understand, peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of a superior focus. When you are focused on your purpose, everything else becomes background noise. When you are aligned with your mission, you are not easily moved. Because you are not here to please, you are here to progress. Too many people lose themselves trying to prove themselves. But what if you stopped proving and started practicing? Practicing discipline, practicing presence, practicing patience. Because these are the tools that forge a calm mind. And a calm mind makes clear decisions. And clear decisions shape powerful destinies. People will misunderstand you. That is not your concern. People will underestimate you. That is not your battle. People will doubt you, ignore you, talk about you behind your back. Let them. You do not owe anyone your energy. You owe it to your future. And your future is too important to be compromised by pettiness. Choose your battles wisely. The strongest men are not those who fight the most, but those who know what's worth fighting for. And peace, inner peace, is always worth fighting for. Because when you lose your peace, you lose your power. You become reactive. You become scattered. You begin to operate from fear instead of faith. And faith, my friend, is essential. Faith that you are on the right path. Faith that your efforts will be rewarded. Faith that you do not need to control everything to win. When you carry that kind of faith, you begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer rush. You prepare. You no longer need approval. You give yourself permission. The world respects the man who respects himself. The world follows the man who is not moved by every wave. He becomes a lighthouse. He becomes a standard. And that standard is built in silence. It is built in the unseen hours when he chooses discipline over distraction, when he chooses values over feelings, when he chooses stillness over stimulation. You want to learn to stay unbothered? Start by making a vow to no longer betray yourself for the sake of pleasing others, to no longer abandon your goals just to fit in, to no longer engage in arguments that do not serve your growth. Make a vow to live above it, not because you're better than anyone, but because you're committed to becoming the best version of yourself. You will know you are evolving when your response to chaos is calm, when your reaction to disrespect is distance, when your answer to judgment is silence, when you can smile without needing to be seen, when you can work without needing to be praised, when you can succeed without needing to be celebrated. This is the way of the unbothered man. This is the way of strength. This is the way of success. Because success is not only what you build, it is what you preserve. And peace must be preserved daily through habits, through mindset, through decisions. It must be protected the same way you protect your time, your money, your reputation. Because once it is gone, everything else is vulnerable. The unbothered man is not detached from reality. He is anchored in purpose. He is not passive, he is powerful. He is not weak, he is wise. And that wisdom, that strength, that calm in the storm, it can be yours, but only if you choose it, only if you train for it. Only if you decide right now that from this day forward, your energy is not for sale. Protect it, preserve it, and let nothing disturb the man who has chosen to walk in peace. When you train your mind to remain calm under pressure, you begin to tap into a level of power that very few men ever touch, because most men allow the outer world to shape their inner world. Their mood changes with the news, their ambition collapses under criticism, their progress halts when someone disapproves. They are at the mercy of reactions, but not you, not anymore. You are being called to a higher level of consciousness, a state of being where your peace is no longer dependent on permission, but on principle. It is not that the unbothered man does not feel, it is that he does not fold. He has built within himself an emotional infrastructure that holds up under the weight of offense, delay, resistance, and misunderstanding. This is not a natural gift. It is a daily choice. It is the fruit of deliberate practice. He has trained himself to rise above what would keep a lesser man grounded. And that elevation, that mental altitude, is what creates advantage in every area of life. Think for a moment about the results you've been after, the dreams that keep pulling on your soul, the vision you hold in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. Do you believe that vision will come to a man who is easily shaken? Do you believe it will be entrusted to someone who abandons his discipline every time a storm rolls in? No, my friend. Life promotes the prepared, and preparation begins in the privacy of your own mind. You must build your peace like a fortress. You must guard it like treasure, because the man who cannot control himself will eventually lose control of everything he touches. The untrained mind will always sabotage opportunity. It will overthink until it stalls. It will worry until it wastes. It will fear until it fails. That is why you must rule it or be ruled by it. And ruling the mind begins with stillness. Stillness is not passivity. Stillness is not stagnation. Stillness is presence. Stillness is clarity. Stillness is strength that does not need to prove itself. The man who walks in stillness speaks little and says much. He is not frantic. He is not anxious. He does not jump to conclusions, nor does he chase every fire that someone else starts. He conserves his energy for what matters most. How much of your life have you spent losing energy to what didn't matter? To things that resolved themselves? To people who were never part of your destiny? When you were meant to be building, you were brooding. When you were called to create, you were caught in complaint. And now here you are, still with the same dream, but distracted. This is what happens when the mind is untrained. You must become a master of focus. Focus is not just the ability to concentrate, it is the discipline to eliminate. To eliminate what no longer serves. To eliminate what does not align. To eliminate anything that steals your peace without paying for your progress. The moment you begin eliminating, your energy shifts. Your presence strengthens. Your productivity increases. Because peace is not the result of getting more done, it's the result of doing only what is necessary. And the necessary becomes obvious once your mind is silent enough to see clearly. Silence is your friend. Use it. In a world that screams, the man who whispers commands the room, and the man who holds his tongue commands his destiny. The loudest person is rarely the wisest. The most reactive person is rarely the strongest. Learn to stay quiet when it's tempting to speak. Learn to listen when you are dying to defend. Learn to wait when you are desperate to act. These are not signs of weakness. They are marks of mastery. The unbothered man does not suppress emotion, he channels it. He does not deny the storm within, he learns how to sail through it. Emotion is not your enemy. It is your energy, it is your internal fire. But that fire must be aimed. Because fire in a furnace warms. Fire in a forest destroys. And your untrained emotion can burn down everything you've built. So how do you train it? You observe it. When anger rises, pause. When fear whispers, listen but don't obey. When envy knocks, do not answer. When anxiety flares, breathe through it. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be powerful. And power comes not from the absence of chaos, but from your ability to rise above it. Every day, you must make a conscious choice to rule your atmosphere. Set the tone. Don't match it. Do not allow other people's dysfunction to pull you from your discipline. Their confusion is not your responsibility. Your peace is. And peace must be protected with the same intensity you once protected your reputation. You no longer need to be understood by everyone. The need to be understood is what keeps men explaining when they should be executing. But the man who stays unbothered has learned to be misunderstood without losing momentum. He has learned to move forward when the crowd is silent, and even when they shout against him. Reactions steal momentum, they steal creativity, they take you out of flow and into frustration, they rob you of energy you could be investing into your future. That is why stillness is not a luxury. It is a necessity. You do not owe the world your reaction. You owe the world your results. And results are not created in chaos. They are created in clarity. And clarity is a function of calm. When the mind is calm, the strategy becomes obvious. The next step becomes clear. The doubt fades. The direction sharpens. Calm your mind, and you will find your answers. Calm your breath, and you will find your power. Calm your spirit, and you will find your influence. The most influential people are not always the most talented. They are the most composed. Because people follow energy before they follow words. They are drawn to the man who radiates presence. Not performance, presence. That kind of presence cannot be faked. It must be forged. It is forged in solitude, in study, in service, in struggle. It is the product of saying no to the things that weaken your foundation. It is built in the moment you turn down distraction to do the deep work, the internal work, the mental alignment that creates external acceleration. You will never outrun your own energy, and if your mind is running on chaos, everything you build will reflect that chaos. But when your mind is still, when it is aligned with peace, with purpose, with power, everything around you begins to respond. People begin to respect it. Opportunities begin to emerge. The doors open not because you pushed harder, but because you prepared longer. Preparation makes noise unnecessary. Confidence replaces noise. Clarity silences fear. And a trained mind walks in clarity. So do not wait for the world to calm down before you choose peace. Choose peace now. Build it, repeat it, guard it, protect it like the treasure it is. Because when you become unbothered, you do not lose anything that matters. You gain everything that lasts. To live unbothered is to live from within. The man who trains his mind to no longer depend on the world for emotional direction becomes ungovernable. He is not moved by gossip. He is not ruled by results. He is not baited by provocation. Because he has discovered that serenity is not a gift, it is a skill, and skills are forged in repetition. How often do you pause before you speak? How often do you observe before you act? How often do you choose silence when the old version of you would have chosen noise? That is the measurement of your evolution. It is not in what you say, it is in what you no longer have to. It is not in how you prove yourself, it is in how you preserve your peace. And peace, when trained, becomes power. You must no longer treat your mind like an open door. Not everything is welcome, not every thought deserves a seat, not every opinion requires an answer. You are the gatekeeper. And if you fail to stand guard, intruders will occupy your vision. Intruders called doubt, called resentment, called distraction. But when the gate is fortified, when your awareness is active, you stop these enemies before they enter. That is how mental leadership is formed, not in theory, but in training. Let me remind you that every master you admire once sat where you now sit. A man full of fire, full of vision, but at war with his emotions. He too was once quick to react, eager to prove, vulnerable to the applause and opinions of others. But somewhere along the line, he made a decision. I will no longer be driven by chaos. I will no longer lose days to pettiness. I will not let temporary emotions sabotage permanent progress. And so he began to train. He studied stillness. He practiced restraint. He built the internal muscle that allowed him to think deeply, act slowly, and move strategically. And over time, something remarkable happened. He became magnetic. He no longer had to fight for attention. People were drawn to his calm. They craved his clarity. They trusted his judgment. Because calm is rare, and what is rare is revered. You want influence? Master calm. You want impact? Control your impulses. You want legacy? Guard your focus like it's gold, because it is. You will soon find that your success is not determined by how hard you grind, but by how well you guard your energy. Energy is your most precious asset, and every reaction is a withdrawal. Spend enough of it on what doesn't matter, and you'll have nothing left for what does. But the man who learns to conserve his focus, who invests only where it compounds, builds an empire with less noise, less burnout, and less resistance. The world rewards composure. The world watches for who can remain poised while others unravel. Do you want to be unforgettable? Then learn to stay composed in crisis. Smile under pressure. Speak softly when others shout. Walk slowly when others sprint. That presence, that calm, that unbothered clarity is your signature. It says everything without you having to say a word. But do not confuse this posture with perfection. You will stumble. You will feel emotion. You will be tempted to react. That is part of the human journey. But the difference is that the unbothered man remembers. He remembers who he is. He remembers what he stands for. He remembers that the moment will pass, but the consequences of reaction will remain. And so he pauses. He chooses peace. And he protects the bigger picture. The bigger picture is your purpose, and purpose demands your presence. You cannot build something great while being emotionally entangled with everything small. You cannot craft legacy while living in distraction. You cannot reach the mountaintop while arguing with those who've never left the valley. Rise above it, not because they're beneath you, but because your vision is beyond them. Let your peace be your protest. Let your silence be your strength. Let your execution be your explanation. You don't have to defend what's destined. You don't have to clarify to those committed to misunderstanding you. Let them talk, let them watch, let them guess. Meanwhile, you keep building, you keep rising, you keep glowing in your lane. And glow you will, because the man who is unbothered begins to shine without effort. His peace is visible. His power is quiet. His decisions are deliberate. His impact is profound. Not because he works harder than everyone else, but because he wastes nothing. No thought wasted on insecurity, no energy wasted on noise, no time wasted on ego. You can feel when you're around such a man. He listens deeply. He speaks slowly. He moves confidently. He radiates a steadiness that calms others without even trying. That steadiness is not arrogance. It is the result of discipline. It is what happens when a man refuses to be pushed around by circumstance. He leads his emotions. He governs his space. He is a thermostat, not a thermometer. He sets the temperature. He doesn't absorb it. So I ask you, what energy do you carry? Are you reacting, or are you directing? Are you absorbing chaos, or are you broadcasting peace? Are you trapped in emotional cycles, or are you living from principle? The man who lives by principle becomes immovable. He becomes a safe place in an unsafe world. He becomes a guide, not a gossip, a builder, not a blamer, a creator, not a critic. And in that identity lies true freedom. Freedom from offense. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from fear. Freedom from performance. Freedom from needing the world to be a certain way before you feel at peace. Because true peace is not the absence of storms. It is the unshakable faith that you were built to outlast them. You were built for clarity. You were built for focus. You were built for vision. You were built to lead, and leadership begins within. So rise now. Rise above the noise. Rise above the doubt. Rise above the distractions. And build a mind that leads the world. Not by domination, not by control, but by staying unbothered, by being the calm in the chaos, the stillness in the storm, the wisdom in the noise. Because when you live like this, when you train your mind like this, you will not only walk in peace, you will walk in power. And that power, my friend, is how you change the world.